The wedding reception had barely begun when Nathan felt a trembling hand wrap around his arm. He turned, expecting to see an old friend or a distant relative, but instead he found the one face he never thought he would see again. His ex-wife, Rebecca, stood before him wearing a pale blue dress, her eyes filled with fear instead of happiness. Her lips barely moved as she whispered the words that instantly shattered the peaceful evening he had been trying so hard to enjoy. She begged him to act like her husband for the next 40 minutes. In that single moment, years of heartbreak, regret, unanswered questions, and painful memories came crashing back. Nathan had spent 3 years convincing himself he was finally over the woman who once meant everything to him. Yet the desperation in her eyes made it impossible to simply walk away. Before we continue this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable stories that touch the heart. The reception hall in Charleston, South Carolina, sparkled with elegant lights that reflected across polished floors, while laughter echoed from every table. Guests celebrated the marriage of Rebecca's younger cousin, completely unaware that another story was unfolding quietly in the corner of the room. Nathan had almost declined the invitation, knowing there was a chance Rebecca might attend. Their marriage had ended after years of misunderstandings, growing silence, and painful assumptions that neither of them had been brave enough to confront. They had loved each other deeply once, but love alone had not been enough to survive pride, exhaustion, and the constant pressure of everyday life. The divorce papers had closed their marriage, but they had never truly closed the wounds inside their hearts. Nathan stared into Rebecca's anxious face and noticed details he had forgotten. The tiny scar above her eyebrow from a childhood bicycle accident was still there. Her hands still shook whenever she was frightened. The confident woman everyone else saw had disappeared, replaced by someone carrying an invisible weight that seemed far heavier than anything she had ever faced before. She quietly explained that someone from her fiancé's wealthy family had unexpectedly arrived at the reception. This man had never accepted their engagement and had recently begun investigating her past after hearing rumors about her previous marriage. He believed she had hidden something important. If he discovered she had lied about still being on good terms with her former husband, he could convince the groom's family to create a public scandal that would destroy the wedding and embarrass everyone involved. She only needed 40 minutes until the guests left for the farewell celebration, after which the situation would no longer matter. Nathan's heart resisted, every instinct telling him to protect the woman who had once broken it. He remembered lonely nights sitting in an empty apartment, staring at wedding photographs he could never bring himself to throw away. He remembered birthdays spent alone and holidays filled with silence instead of laughter. Every memory reminded him of promises that had slowly fallen apart. Yet beneath all the hurt remained something impossible to erase. Compassion had always been stronger than resentment inside him. Without another question, he nodded. For the next several minutes, Nathan and Rebecca walked together through the reception, as though nothing had ever happened between them. They smiled politely for photographs, greeted relatives, and shared stories from years gone by. To everyone watching, they appeared like a devoted couple, simply enjoying a beautiful family celebration. But beneath those smiles lived two broken hearts, trying not to reopen old wounds. As they moved from table to table, forgotten memories quietly returned. Nathan remembered how Rebecca used to squeeze his hand whenever she became nervous. Without thinking, she did it again. She immediately realized what she had done and gently released his hand, looking down with quiet embarrassment. That tiny moment carried more emotion than either of them expected. Some habits, it seemed, survived even after love had supposedly ended. The longer they stayed together, the more Nathan noticed the sadness Rebecca had been hiding. Her eyes looked tired despite her carefully applied makeup. She smiled for everyone else, but each smile faded the instant people looked away. Finally, while standing beside a window overlooking the peaceful harbor, she admitted something she had never confessed during their marriage. She had spent years believing she constantly disappointed everyone around her. She had buried herself in work, believing success would somehow fix the emptiness she carried inside. Instead, it had slowly pushed away the one person who loved her without conditions. Pride had stopped her from admitting how overwhelmed she truly felt. By the time she realized the damage, their marriage had already collapsed beneath the weight of silence. Nathan listened, without anger. Time had softened his pain enough to hear the truth instead of the blame. He confessed that he had made mistakes too. Instead of asking how she was feeling, he had assumed she no longer cared. Instead of fighting for their marriage, he had slowly withdrawn into his own disappointment. They had become strangers living under the same roof, long before they signed divorce papers. The mysterious relative eventually approached them, watching every movement with suspicious eyes. Nathan remained calm, placing a reassuring hand around Rebecca's shoulder with quiet confidence. Their natural familiarity, built through years of genuine marriage, convinced the man far more effectively than any rehearsed performance ever could. After several tense conversations, the man finally smiled politely and excused himself. The danger had passed. 40 minutes were over. Nathan slowly stepped away, believing this was where their paths separated forever. But before he could leave the ballroom, Rebecca stopped him once again. This time, there was no fear in her voice, only honesty. She admitted she had not asked him for help simply because of the family problem. Deep inside, she had wanted one final chance to stand beside the man she had once promised to love forever. Spending those 40 minutes together reminded her that kindness had never disappeared between them. It had simply been buried beneath years of pain. Nathan felt tears forming despite every attempt to remain composed. Life had taken both of them through different journeys, teaching painful lessons neither could have learned any other way. Forgiveness did not erase the past, but it created space for something new. Instead of rushing toward another relationship, they agreed to begin with friendship, honesty, and patience. There were no guarantees, no dramatic promises, only two imperfect people willing to give hope another chance. Months later, they were often seen walking through Charleston's quiet parks together, laughing about old memories while creating new ones. They attended counseling, learned how to communicate without fear, and slowly rebuilt the trust that had once seemed impossible to recover. Their story did not become perfect overnight. Real love rarely does. But every small step forward became proof that broken hearts can heal when pride gives way to grace and compassion. If this story has touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe to the channel and let us know your thoughts in the comments, because your support helps these meaningful stories reach more people around the world. Special request: before this story ends, please comment with the words, "Second chances are worth believing in." If you believe love, forgiveness, and kindness can change a life. As Nathan looked at the sunset reflecting across the calm waters beside Rebecca months later, he realized that life rarely gives people the opportunity to rewrite old chapters. Most endings remain permanent, but sometimes, when compassion is stronger than bitterness, when forgiveness becomes greater than pride, and when two hearts are willing to learn from their mistakes, even the most painful goodbye can quietly become the beginning of a brand new story. The greatest miracle was never that Rebecca asked him to pretend to be her husband for 40 minutes. The real miracle was that those 40 minutes reminded them both of the love they had forgotten was still waiting patiently beneath the ashes, ready to bloom once again.